9:52 on this Friday. Hello, everyone. Weather Geek, you were up first on YouTube today. Congrats to you. Hello to Kathy as well as Ann. Hello to Andrew. Haven't seen you on here in a while, Andrew. Renee, good morning to you. And Amy, as always. Morgan, Jason, and Blue, we already got sound on here. So feel free to dial in and say hello to everybody. If you're able to get on the social media side, Dolly Jean's on here as well. Good morning, everyone. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Goode. It is the weather block here on this Friday. Likely going back to storm talk for next week. The looks, the way the trends are anyway for down the road. That's likely what we'll be switching gears on. But hey, it's about time, right? We've had our quiet week. Now it's getting back to reality, it looks like, into the coming days. I've got an update on that, on where do we stand on the amounts, so much as downpours on a daily basis, the amount potential. We'll discuss some of that, but more so really just the evolution of how this still progresses of the 1-2 punch between the two area of low pressures. Time frame is going to be really a challenge here, as it looks like they're so slow to move on through. We just don't know. We have a general idea on the start time as far as some influence being felt over the weekend, but next week is the main chunk of energy we're talking about. But when does it eventually leave? Because there are signs that could even extend even beyond next week, which could make things a little interesting down the road, kind of really changing or flipping the script, as we say, in this kind of a setup. All right, more on that in just a second. Quick update on our countdown to fall. 3 days. This is it, guys. This is the last weekend of summer 2025. Fall begins at 2:19 p.m. on Monday. So there you go. We'll have one more morning together for the blog in the summer season, and then that's it. One more morning. All right. It's got to end at some point, right? Time to move on to other things. There's a live look at the outlets, the shops there into Simpsonville. Here's, of course, the Louder Than Live stage, recovering from last night from Rob Zombie and Slayer, right? So gearing up for what looks to be a hot day today for sure. And really the last decently looking day as far as sunshine goes today. We do have some high clouds that move in later this afternoon from the west, already on our way, actually. And we'll see a mix of sun and clouds on Saturday, and then maybe a few storms on Sunday. So not exactly the same type of sky the next few days, but temperatures will be relatively slow to drop here. It's going to take until really next week to see the most dramatic difference outside. All right, back over to the shops of Bluegrass into Simpsonville, where we do have a bit of haze outside. Air quality alert still out all the way through midnight tonight. Recently, well, we made it to 90 yesterday, so we're back on track on the 90s. We didn't hit it until really around sunset last night. It took a while to get to that 90. We were flirting with 89 for quite some time, but it made it on the board. So now we are at 46 days in the count. We'll add likely today and tomorrow. So we'll get close to 50. We may fall just short of that. Last year, 59 days, not too far off, right? And a far cry, thank goodness, from 2010 when we had 85 days. That's still the all-time, and yeah, that's not going to happen. That I can guarantee you. I can guarantee you that. There's not many things I can guarantee you in what I do in this job. That I can guarantee you. All right, here we go with the latest on air quality. Again, the sensors coming in a bit elevated. It's usually they elevate late afternoon, evening, during the night, early morning. Then they'll reset back down again for a while into the core of the daytime period until mid to late afternoon, and then they start to worsen again, get back to the cold orange level. So kind of a yo-yo effect there. But at the moment, they're still recovering from this morning, so that's why the number is pretty high at 82 in the area. But is forecast to ease back just a bit and stay in the moderate category until we get to late afternoon. But that air quality alert again extended all the way through tonight for southern Indiana and the Louisville Metro. All right, there's that band of clouds I was referring to that it's trying to sneak in from the west. These were thunderstorms. I actually had several severe thunderstorm warnings with this band yesterday into the evening. It fell apart, so just the debris clouds and a few showers trying to hold on to that. This is going to be very, very slow, and it's moving into an environment that is not supportive to hold on to thunderstorms. So the rain part of that is not going to make it, but the clouds, which will be just the tops of them, the lower layer of clouds will be sheared out because the dry air will eat them alive. So mainly just a high deck of cirrus clouds will be rolling in from the west this afternoon. And honestly, it's a really good setup for beautiful sunsets. When you have an approaching thinning deck of clouds from the west, it usually lines up very well, especially with the earlier sunset, to allow for a very pretty sunset this evening. So overall, good looking day coming away with highs close to that 90-degree mark. A couple degrees above it or below it. Depends on where you're at. All right, here is one of our high-res models. I'll just show you one. They're all slightly different, especially when it comes to the isolated thunderstorm chances for Saturday and Sunday. They're going to all be a little different because they're all latching on to different ideas of where the ingredients will be to allow for a few pop-up storms. It's just not a strong signal for rain this weekend. It's very blotchy, so certainly don't want you to discount the chance. Make sure you stay close to the forecast. If you're going to be outside for an extended period of time, have a way to get notified for lightning or any heavier pockets of rain that form near you, even if they're not severe. But just make sure you have a way to be notified and still enjoy the weekend. But the data we're looking at, it's hard to show it on a futurecast because they are all different and they change every run because it's very much a sensitive setup without a lack of one strong forcing mechanism to be involved, where it's very definitive. We know exactly where the storms would form and likely what time of day. In this case, it's very just sluggish. So it's kind of just randomized. As I always say, like trying to watch play whack-a-mole or playing bumper cars, right? So don't get too worried on the rain chance this weekend is what I'm trying to say in a very long-winded way. The cloud cover for today, as I mentioned, will roll in for that sunset. Here we go tomorrow. All right, tomorrow we start to enter a slightly more humid setup. This is where we start to bring back at least the pop-up showers, a few thunderstorms. Most of you won't even see a drop, so you're like, what's the deal? So again, we're not going to play this up too much. We get into Sunday. Perhaps a little bit more of a kick on some clusters of thunderstorms in the area, and that's why we've taken the high down a few degrees on Sunday to account for that. But still, it's not a widespread rain, but some of you do think we'll get some showers as we head into Sunday. And then Sunday night, this particular run on the graph is interesting. Tries to run almost an MCS feature right toward us, but the clock ends at 11:30 Sunday night. So we don't know what happens next. Now, I can assume that it will continue to rain itself out, but we'll get a little bit of wind and maybe some light rain overnight Sunday into early Monday. That's possible. But you can tell that just by looking at this futurecast, right, things are going to be changing. We're getting out of the rut of that this week has been and weather. It's all evolving to a whole different look as we go through the next several days ahead. All right, let's circle back to that in a second. Any questions on the short term for the weekend before I get into the long range here this morning? A lot of YouTubers are on today. Make sure Facebook's working. I hope it is. It's been giving me fits this week, right? Good morning, Patricia, over in Fern Creek. Hello, Aaron. Hope you're doing well. Hello, Kelly. Who's watching from Twitch? Move from Facebook to Twitch. All right. Well, good morning. Who are you watching on Twitch? Kai Sanat or your favorite gamer? Are you watching Shroud? Never know anymore. Twitch is full of all kinds of things in the world. Hello, Wyatt. Hope you're doing well. Hello, Kathy, as well. All right, quite a few on here. Well, good morning, morning. All right, so before I get into that setup for next week involving those pairs of low pressures that are going to be moving our way, let me cover briefly the tropics with Gabrielle, which we've been watching there across the central Atlantic. Didn't look too good yesterday, right? Do you remember that? Well, today, yeah, it's getting better. It's still a bit lopsided on the thunderstorm setup. The center of the storm is located roughly right here. So they have formed, but they're still mainly on the southeast side here of the spin. But the environment, the shear that's ripping this right now, as far as putting all the thunderstorms lopsided on one area of the circulation, that will relax a bit as it gets a little closer to Bermuda. So what the Hurricane Center is going to do with this feature is that it moves into the more favorable environment, it should get stronger. So at the moment, still tropical storm, barely at right around 50. These are all estimates right now, based out not far in the Atlantic. But it's forecast to go up to a 1 and it may be even a Cat 2 when it makes that turn, but it will be a fish storm and eventually becomes just an area of low pressure as it gets into the Northern Atlantic and before it heads into United Kingdom down the road. So for now, Bermuda may get grazed by the western side of it, but I don't think it's going to be a huge issue for even Bermuda. I think it's going to kick up the waves a bit, especially for the East Coast as it ramps up its intensity, but nothing like what Aaron did. So for this one, I think it's relatively easy to deal with, this type of system. The one behind it, which hasn't even shown up yet within range here, would be the one I do think we still need to watch. I'm not going to say it's going to be Humberto, which is the next name, but it has a good chance to be, and it has a good chance to stay a little more south and west, and that could just be a little bit more of a problem for the Caribbean and the East Coast, but that would be a good 10 days from now. So plenty of time to fine-tune that. But there's your update on the tropics in case you're wondering, and there's all the model outputs for Gabrielle. Yeah, pretty locked in, right, on that turn out to sea. All right, here locally. So I didn't draw the lows on here, but I'll do that now. Here's the one low pressure up here into the Midwest. Again, it's got a bit of a tail to it here. And that tail, the comma, if you will, is going to be our main focal point and trigger for showers and storms for part of Sunday, part of Monday, and part of Tuesday. And you'll see that reflected here. Let me advance this. Here we go with Monday, and here we go with Tuesday. So we're still seeing the influence. Of course, now at this point, the center is about here, and then the tail extends all the way right there into Kentucky. So this is a very slow-moving setup with them being draped across Kentucky. There could be many storm motions here where everything goes west to east. That can create some training effects. So while we're not expecting a lot of rainfall amounts in individual rain events or episodes to be very high, the idea you may end up with more than one of these repeating over the same spots could really add on to your rain totals. And it wouldn't surprise me. By the time we get in Tuesday or Wednesday, we could be looking at 1 to 2 inches of rain in some areas. So beneficial rain for sure. It's just placement, still tough to nail down. And as far as timing goes, each and every day, we're going to have to handle it as each every day. We can't, it's just too complex to say it's going to rain only Wednesday at 2 a.m. or 5 p.m. We can't do that yet. The system is just way too sluggish for us to get a handle on that. But I can tell you the pattern, everything's supportive of rain chances going up, and potential is there for training of rainfall and some decent rain amounts. That will get us through Wednesday. Then we've got to prepare for the next one, which is low number 2. It's already forming near the Ozarks. And like most low pressures love to do, it's hitching a ride on the caboose of the previous storm right here. So it's latching onto it. So as this one says, see you later, and heads out to sea, this one's going to say, I have the entire Eastern United States to my power here. So it's going to do whatever it wants to do and take as long as it needs, because there is nothing over here. There is nothing to come over here and kick it and move it out of the way. So it feels no pressure to leave town. It wants to stay in the guest room as long as it can. So that's going to keep us under the clouds and a daily chance for showers and storms as it rolls along. So here we go. This is Wednesday. Here we go with Thursday. And here we go into Friday. At this point on Friday, it's still here. Look how much of the cool air expands. This is a cloud shield is why it does that. Very expansive cloud shield. 60s and 70s underneath this for high temperatures. Really, you're not going to see much of a change day and night under this kind of a setup. So this is where we go on to Friday. So let's advance this a bit more. All right. Over the weekend, next weekend, finally, it looks like we get a kick and we get this low to head out, because here comes our next front, and we're getting an increase in tropical moisture coming in from the Gulf into Texas, which is going to be interesting. This whole setup here, the model stops at this point with what I can show you, but I can tell you that the storyline is we get into October, and I'm going to limit it to right now the first 10 days. The first 10 days of October, we're going to have colder weather involved coming down to the lower 48. I don't know if it's coming straight here or not. I just know that colder weather, it gets involved. At the same time, I think severe thunderstorms will get more involved, especially in the nation's heartland. And I also think that the tropics are going to get involved with something in the Gulf, whether it's Humberto that makes it in the Gulf or something new. I think all of that is going to be going on in October. And likely the first 10 days, we'll have a good idea how they're all going to mesh. What does that mean for us? Don't know, obviously, but you guys know I'm always looking ahead. And that is where I think we're really going to get into much more of an active weather setup. Next week is our training wheels to get us used to using the app again, looking at the radar, driving in rain again. I think we've lost our skills on that. So get used to at least rain. That's baby steps, right? But once we get into the first 10 days of October, we may deal with a little bit more of a wild back and forth of warm and perhaps cold getting into the mix. So it's going to be interesting for sure. October, I still feel is going to be a wild month more than normal. And that's where my gut says, and I'm going to stick with it. All right, so here we go with the 10-day, which does feature those 90s for today and tomorrow. The 90s been underperforming here lately, but we'll keep going with at least 91, like a 92 here and there. I think it's fair. And then we get into the scattered thunderstorm chance. We're going to keep it at 40% for now, but there will be some 70, 80% days here. It's going to be hard to avoid that. I just rather us get to where we can, for more confidence level here, for sure, put out a day that has a higher rain chance. So you guys know, I don't want to just throw it out there now on a Wednesday and Thursday and then constantly move it from 20 to 70, 20 to 30, 40 to 60, just kind of, all over the place. It gets confusing for you, right? So we're only going to raise it up as our confidence builds at that particular time or day is the most likely time to get rain. Okay, so for right now, we'll broad brush it with 40% and just give us a little more time to work through this, especially through the weekend, and we'll be able to sort it out. Any questions on that? Kathy, now you're talking cooler weather is what I'm praying for. Yeah, it's going to be cooler for sure. Even next week, the rain cooled air because of the clouds. I mean, that's, 15 degrees off the mark from where we are for highs this week. That in itself would be nice. And plus, it gives you a break just from the relentless days of sun and gets our annuals some water too. Carrie, the first low pressure has a tail to the south. Does that mean it's spinning clockwise? No, it's spinning counterclockwise. So let's see, how do I get this drawn on here for you? Hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to look for you, Carrie. All right, so you got your low pressure here that's on the map. All right, so yes, the flow is counterclockwise, all right, going around it. High pressure is clockwise. But in this particular case, when that flow goes around through the Rockies into the northern plains here, there's no moisture, so you don't really pick up anything. You round the base of its turn across the Missouri, now you start to pick up on some of the moisture that is here across the Gulf. And by the time it turns to go back up again into the eastern side of the Big Red L, then the thunderstorms react and form the tail to it. So the tail portion of that is an extension of that counterclockwise flow wrapping around it there. I call it a tail because that's how it will look on the radar. You will only see the rain that looks like a comma shape here, so it'll look like a tail, when in reality, the entire thing is filled in as a circle, but I refer to it in a tail in that sense, because only the southern eastern part is going to reflect the rain. Especially at that higher latitude, that's normal. Once it gets a little closer to the Gulf, then usually the entire thing, as the second one does, fills in as a big giant circle. You get moisture all the way around the rain on that one. So I hope that makes sense. But good question. Good question there. Next week in Nashville, hoping for 70s and no rain. Sorry, that was loud. Let's see, next weekend. And the lows should start moving out for you, Michelle. By the time we evolve to the weekend, at this point, some point Thursday through Saturday, it starts to, jet to the east. So as long as that little kick happens, you should be fine. Let's see. Those days sound great. Yeah, I agree. Are these lows attached to the jet next week? Nope, they are not. They are not, Adam. So the severe risk is low, but you can get isolated strong or pulse severe just because of the spin of the low itself is allowing for just enough modest shear to happen because it's going against the grind on this of how it spins to our area being the center of it being west. I'm really tired. I'm sorry. So it's getting harder to explain these things. I need more of a flow chart. Where's Wavy? I need you, Wavy. Come out here and draw something. But the more the low is to our west, the more it tends to be more thunderstorm related. Once that low, the red L, moves over us, it's more overcast, drizzly, more of the type of cloudy, rainier days you think of in the fall or even in the winter that we get. But initially, it'll be more scattered areas of lightning and thunder. But a couple of those could be on the strong side. But as far as organized severe, it's very unlikely right now. Cameron, you're trying to get me to talk about the winter every time. Halloween night. We'll talk about the winter on it. I promise. I can't get too far ahead of myself. What's the point of doing all the work all month, right? I'm working hard for you all so everything's ready for Halloween. All right, guys, I'm going to run. Appreciate it as always. You guys are awesome. Enjoy the weekend. Seriously, enjoy the last few days here of summer. And when I see you guys next, it'll be in the final hours of summer. And we'll be preparing for the setup for next week with showers and some thunderstorms. At least we'll have something to talk about, something a little more exciting, right? So hang tight. Enjoy the weekend. Relax. See you soon.